The next chapter we are going to start is the natural radioactivity. Now radioactivity, it is also termed as nuclear decay or radioactive disintegration or nuclear disintegration or radioactive decay. So these are the names of radioactivity. And what is radioactivity? It is a process by which an unstable atomic nucleus. So keep in mind the nucleus, it is unstable. So the process by which an unstable atomic nucleus, it loses its energy, because the nucleus, it is unstable because it is having more energy. So that extra amount of energy, it is released in the form of radiation. So the process by which an unstable atomic nucleus, it loses its energy by radiation, that is termed as radioactivity. So now what is meant by radiation? Now radiation, it can be in terms of alpha particles. Alpha particles are emitted from a nucleus. Beta particles can also be emitted from a nucleus. Gamma photons, they can also be emitted from a nucleus, or neutrons can be emitted from the nucleus. So these particles, alpha particle, beta particle, gamma photon and neutrons, they come under nuclear radiations. Now this radioactive decay, that is a nucleus, it decays to more stable configuration by emitting radiations in the form of alpha or beta, gamma, neutron radiations. So this process, it was first discovered in 1896 by French scientist Henri Becquerel. Now what are the alpha rays, beta rays and gamma rays? What are the difference between these? Now this symbol which is shown over here, this symbol, it is used in the places so as to make people aware that they are not allowed to enter those areas. So these areas are the prone areas where some work is in progress related to radioactive isotopes, and unshielded humans are not allowed in those places. So to do work related to radioactive isotopes, people, they have to take many precautions. They must be shielded properly so that the radiations do not harm their body. So this symbol, it is used in the places so as to warn people that unshielded humans, they are not allowed in those prone areas. Now what are the difference between alpha rays, beta rays and gamma rays? Now alpha rays or alpha particles, they are nothing but helium nucleus. Now what is helium nucleus? It consists of 2 protons and 2 neutrons. So helium nucleus, it is termed as alpha particle. And what are beta particles? Either electron or positron. So when electron is emitted from the nucleus or positron is emitted from the nucleus. Now what is positron? It is an antiparticle of electron. So this will be done in particle physics in next semester. Positron, it has same mass as that of the electron, but its charge is opposite. So this is an antiparticle of electron. So when electron is emitted or positron is emitted from the nucleus, the particles are called as the decay is called as beta negative decay or beta positive decay respectively. Then gamma rays, these are nothing but the EM radiations, or these are nothing but the photons of particular energy, and their energy is given by h nu, where nu is the frequency of the EM radiation. Now what is the charge on alpha particle? Since alpha particle is 2 protons and 2 neutrons, they are bound together. So neutrons are neutral. So alpha particles, they will have a charge of plus 2e, and this is due to the 2 protons which are present in the alpha particle. Then charge on beta rays, it can be plus e if the beta positive decay is happening. So for beta positive particles, the charge will be plus e, and if electrons are emitted, the charge will be minus e. Now gamma radiations, these are the photons, so these are neutral. So alpha rays, they are 2 protons and 2 neutrons bound together, that is helium nucleus, and beta rays are electrons or positrons. Gamma rays, they are EM radiations. These alpha particles, these are heaviest of all these particles. Alpha particle, that is 2 protons, 2 neutrons, it is heaviest of all the particles. So this can be stopped by a sheet of a paper. So a thin sheet of paper, it can easily stop the alpha particles. That is, the penetrating power of alpha particle is least of all these radiations. Then the beta rays, they can be stopped by aluminium shielding. Beta rays are stopped by aluminium shielding, and their penetrating power, it is between alpha rays and gamma rays. Now gamma rays, they are very highly energetic photons. These are gamma rays. So these are EM radiations, and they are highly energetic, and they are stopped by a very thick layer of lead. So very thick layer of lead is required to stop these gamma rays or to absorb these gamma rays. Now therefore the gamma rays, they have high penetrating power, that is, they penetrate to a larger distance in the material. Beta rays, they have penetrating power between alpha particle and gamma rays. Then alpha particles, they ionizes the medium, and they will ionize the medium to the maximum amount as compared to beta ray and the gamma ray. Since the alpha particles, they penetrate very less, so they are stopped in the medium in a very small length, so they are easily stopped. And if they are easily stopped, means they will ionize the medium by the maximum amount as compared to beta ray and gamma ray. Now gamma rays, they are highly energetic particles, they are highly energetic photons, so they will travel with a very high velocity. So they travel with velocity of light, that is 3 into 10 raised to power 8 meters per second. So if they are traveling with a very such high velocity, so they will ionize the medium to a minimum amount. So they will interact with the medium in which they are passing, in which they are propagating. So they will interact very less with the medium, so they will ionize it also very less. Now beta particles, they will also ionize the medium, but their ionizing power, it will be between that of alpha rays and the gamma rays. Now what are the velocities of alpha particles? The range of the velocities, it lies from 1.4 into 10 raised to power 7 to 2.3 into 10 raised to power 7 meters per second, and these are experimental results that alpha particles, they have velocities in this range. Now beta particles, they have velocities from 1% of velocity of light to 99% of velocity of light. So this is the range of the beta particles. And gamma rays, these are the EM radiations, so they will travel with the velocity of light in vacuum, that is 3 into 10 raised to power 8 meters per second. Now keep in mind the alpha particles. So let's say any parent nuclei, it emits alpha particles. So those alpha particles which are emitted by one nucleus, by a single nucleus, all those alpha particles, they will have same velocity. So they will have same velocity if you will change the nucleus. So let's say you change the nucleus. First you were taking oxygen, now you are taking nitrogen nucleus. So if it emits alpha particle, if you are changing the nucleus, the velocity of the alpha particle, it will also change. So velocity, it is constant for a particular nucleus. Velocity of the alpha particle is constant for a particular kind of nucleus, whereas for the beta rays, the velocities of all the electrons or the positrons which are emitted from a single nucleus, their velocity will be in a very high range. The velocity, it will not be constant, and the velocity, it will vary from 0 to maximum amount of velocity. So the velocity of the beta particles, it varies for a single kind of nucleus, whereas for the alpha particles, the velocity is constant for a particular nucleus. And velocity of the gamma rays, it is constant. Now alpha particles, these are the charged particles, so these will be deflected in electric and magnetic field. And beta particles, they are also charged particles, so they will also be deflected in electric and magnetic field. Whereas gamma rays, they are neutral rays, so they will do not show, so they will not show any deflection in electric and magnetic field. The next small topic is on how gamma rays they interact with the medium. Now gamma rays, they do not interact in the way the alpha particles or beta particles they interact with the medium. So if alpha particle is traveling in the medium and beta particle is traveling in the medium, so they will directly collide with the atoms of the medium and they will pass their energy. Whereas the gamma rays, they are absorbed by the matter in the following ways. So gamma rays, they are absorbed or they will interact with the medium in three main ways. First is the photoelectric effect, second is the Compton scattering, and last one is the pair production. So in the photoelectric effect, so when the gamma rays, which are shown by this wave, orange color wave, and it has energy which is equal to h nu. So this is the gamma photon which is made incident on atom. So this atom, it is a part of the medium in which this gamma photon is traveling. So there are three main processes by which the gamma ray, it can interact. Now what is photoelectric effect? When the gamma ray, it falls on the electron of the atom of the medium. When this gamma ray falls on this electron of the atom of the medium, this electron, it will absorb whole of the energy of this photon and it will get unbound from the orbit, because the electrons, they are bound to the nucleus. So this electron, it gains enough energy to get unbound from the nucleus, and then it will travel in the medium with some energy, with some kinetic energy, and the kinetic energy of this electron, it will be equal to the total energy which has been absorbed by the electron. So first of all, this electron, it absorbs the whole of this energy h nu, and some of the energy, it will be utilized to unbound this electron from the orbit, and that energy is called as the binding energy of the electron. So this is the orbital binding energy, and this is different from the binding energy that we have discussed. So that is for the nucleus. So this is for the case of electron, because electron, it is bound to the nucleus with some energy. So that amount of energy must be required by the electron so that the electron, it can be made free. So from this energy h nu, which is given by the gamma photon, from this energy, some part of the energy will be utilized to unbound this electron, and rest of the energy, it will be given to the electron as its kinetic energy. So this is what is photoelectric effect. So kinetic energy of the electron, it is equal to the energy of the gamma photon minus the binding energy of electron. So this is what we have done in photoelectric effect. Now photoelectric effect, it occurs for the case of bound electron, only for the case of bound electron, and photoelectric effect, it cannot occur for the case of free electron. So we will see that Compton scattering, it occurs for almost free electron, the electron which is almost free or it is completely free. So Compton scattering, it occurs for free electron, whereas photoelectric effect, it occurs for the bound electrons. So here we have shown photoelectric effect for the case of electron which is in the innermost orbit, that is, it is bounded strongly with the nucleus. The innermost electrons, they are bounded strongly with the nucleus. So we have shown photoelectric effect for this bound electron. Photoelectric effect, it occurs for the case of bound electron only. Photoelectric effect, it cannot occur for the case of free electron, and this is because in that case, if you will take free electron, in that case there will be violation of conservation of linear momentum. So linear momentum, conservation of linear momentum principle, it will be violated for the case of photoelectric effect in a free electron. So photoelectric effect, it occurs only for the case of bound electron, and here also we have shown photoelectric effect for the innermost electron because this electron, it is bound strongly with the nucleus. Now next one is the Compton scattering. Now what is Compton scattering? You have already done that when a photon, it falls on the electron which is almost free. So we have shown the Compton scattering for the outermost electron. So this outermost electron, it will be weakly bounded. Here we had shown for the innermost electron photoelectric effect for the innermost electron because this is strongly bound. But in the case of Compton scattering it occurs for the case of free electron. When a photon, gamma photon, it falls on the free electron, gamma photon, it will get scattered. So the electron, it will also get scattered, and gamma photon, it will also get scattered. So the energy of the gamma photon which is scattered, it is always less as compared to that of the incident photon. So this is the incident gamma photon and it is falling on the free electron. So this electron which is in the outermost orbit, it is almost free because it is weakly bounded with the nucleus. So therefore we have shown Compton scattering for this weakly bounded, for this outer electron. So when this gamma photon, it falls on the free electron, the gamma photon, it gets scattered with energy which is less than that of the incident photon energy, and rest of the energy, it is given to the electron as its kinetic energy. So h nu, which is the energy of the incident photon, it is greater than that of the h nu prime, which is the energy of the scattered gamma photon. And Compton scattering, it occurs for the case of free electron. Outer electrons are weakly bounded by the nucleus, therefore Compton scattering is shown for the outermost electron. So the Compton scattering that we have shown over here, we have shown for the case of outermost electron because it is weakly bound. Now next process by which the gamma photon, it can interact with the medium is by pair production. So pair production means one gamma photon, when it travels in the medium, it gets separated. So this gamma photon, it will completely disappear and electron and positron are formed. So the gamma photon which is traveling in the medium, it will be completely absorbed in the medium, and in result the electron and positron will be formed, and these electrons and positrons, they will travel with some kinetic energy. Now this pair production phenomena, it always occurs under the influence of nucleus. So when gamma photon, it is traveling in the vacuum, and when gamma photon, it is traveling in the medium and some nucleus is present in the vicinity of this gamma photon. So when some nucleus is present around this gamma photon, only then this gamma photon will get converted into electron and positron. So this is the first condition, that some third body must be present so that pair production can occur. So pair production occurs only in the presence of nucleus, and this is because to conserve linear momentum. So if gamma photon is traveling in the vacuum where there is no nucleus present, so that gamma photon, it will never get converted into electron and positron, because in that case the linear momentum will be, conservation of linear momentum, this principle will be violated. So gamma photon, it will get converted into electron and positron only when nucleus is present in the vicinity of this gamma photon. So gamma, it will get converted into electron and positron. Now another condition for this gamma photon to get converted into electron and positron. Now these electrons and positrons, these are particles, and gamma photon, it is a wave. So the energy of this gamma photon is h nu, and the electrons and positrons, they will have their rest mass energy. The rest mass energy of electron, that is mass of electron times c square. This gives us the rest mass energy of electron, and the rest mass energy of positron, that is mass of positron times c square. So this will come out to be equal to 0.511 mega electron volt. So when you will calculate the rest mass energy of electron and positron, so their mass is same, only charge is different, so their rest mass energy will also be same. So this is the rest mass energy of electron and this is the rest mass energy of positron. So the minimum energy that must be required by this photon, that this photon must have the minimum amount of energy will be equal to the sum of the rest mass energy of this electron and positron. So to form these electrons and positrons, the energy of the gamma photon, it must be either greater than or it must be equal to the sum of the rest mass energies of electrons and positrons, because we are forming particles from the wave. We are forming particles from a wave. So this wave, it must have energy, some minimum amount of energy should be there so that these particles can be formed, and the rest mass energy of each particle is 0.511 and 0.511 mega electron volt. So minimum amount of energy that must be in this gamma photon is equal to 0.511 mega electron volt plus 0.511 mega electron volt. So the minimum energy of gamma required for pair production is equal to mass of electron times c square plus mass of positron times c square, and that will come out to be equal to 1.022 mega electron volt. So there are two main conditions for the pair production to occur. First is that there must be some nucleus present in the vicinity of the gamma photon. Only then that gamma photon will get converted into electron and positron. And second main condition on pair production is that this gamma photon, it must have energy, minimum energy, it must be equal to 1.022 mega electron volt. If the energy of this gamma photon is less than this value, then this gamma photon, it will not get converted into electron and positron, because minimum energy required for this gamma photon to get converted into electron and positron is 1.022 mega electron volt. And what are the differences between gamma rays and X-rays? So the main difference between gamma ray and X-ray is from their origination. Now X-rays, they are emitted from the atomic electrons. Now when an electron from its outer orbit, it goes to its lower orbit. So when there is a transition in the atomic orbitals, that is electron from the outer orbit, it goes to the lower orbit, then photons are emitted, and that photons, they lie in the range of X-rays. So that is the origination of X-rays. The X-rays, they are originated due to the transitions of electrons in the atomic orbitals, whereas gamma rays, they are originated from the nucleus. Now we have already seen there are various levels in the nucleus. In the shell model we have seen there are various levels in the nucleus. So nucleus, it can go to its excited state. So we have written the ground state of the nucleus in the last chapter. That nucleus, it can go to its excited state, and when that nucleus, it returns to its ground state, it will emit gamma rays. The photons that will be emitted, they will lie in the range of gamma rays. So this is the main difference between a gamma ray and X-rays. X-rays, they are emitted when there is a transition of the electrons from higher orbit to lower orbit. So those photons that are emitted in that case, they are X-rays photons. Whereas gamma ray photons are emitted when nucleus from its excited state, it goes to its ground state. So in that case, gamma rays are emitted. Next we are going to see what are the units of radioactivity. There are main three units of radioactivity: Curie, Becquerel and Rutherford. Curie is represented by Ci. C is capital, I is in small letters. Becquerel is represented by capital B and small q. Rutherford is represented by capital R and small d. So the units of radioactivity are Curie, Becquerel and Rutherford. Now what do we mean by the units? So any nucleus, any parent nucleus, it decays into its daughter nuclei. Because this parent nuclei, it is unstable nucleus, so it has a tendency to go to the daughter nuclei, that is it will decay to daughter nuclei and it will emit some alpha particle or beta particle or gamma rays. So this will be one decay. So one nucleus is decaying to the daughter nuclei, so this will be one decay. Now 1 Curie it is defined. So first of all, 1 becquerel. 1 becquerel it is defined when one decay is happening in 1 second. One decay is happening per second. So one nucleus it will decay to the daughter nuclei in 1 second. So that is called as 1 becquerel. And if 10 power 6 decays are happening in 1 second, 10 power 6 decays means here we have shown only one nucleus, it is going to daughter nuclei, it is decaying to daughter nucleus. So this is just one decay. So this is 10 power 6 decays are happening in 1 second. So simultaneously 10 power 6 decays will happen in 1 second. So we will have a sample of a particular radioactive isotope. So there will be millions of radioactive isotope atoms which will be present. So if 10 power 6 decays they happen in 1 second, that is called as 1 Rutherford. And what is 1 Curie? 1 Curie it is defined as if 3.7 into 10 raised to power 10. 3.7 into 10 raised to power 10 decays are happening in 1 second. So that is called as 1 Curie. So these are the units of radioactivity, and radioactivity it is measured in decays per second. As you can see we have over here decays per second. So 1 Curie is 3.7 into 10 power 10 decays per second, 1 becquerel is 1 decay per second, 1 Rutherford is 10 power 6 decays per second. Now what is the reason why a nucleus it decays to another nucleus? Here we have shown a parent nucleus, it is decaying to another daughter nuclei. So what is the reason? An unstable nucleus it decays in order to achieve a new configuration which is either stable or it will lead to one that is stable. So the main reason of any nucleus to decay into another nuclei is to achieve stability. So just to achieve stability, one nucleus it will decay to another, and if this nucleus is also less stable, this will again decay to another nucleus, and so on chains can be formed. So nuclear chains are formed in this way. So one nucleus it decays to another, and this daughter nuclei, if it is unstable, it will again decay to some another daughter nuclei, and so on. So the main reason for the unstable nucleus, for a nuclei decaying to another nucleus, the main reason is to achieve stability.